Hello and welcome to the 8th video for Mathematics of Grade 10. In this video, I'm going to solve some of the exercises of Section 2, Chapter 8, which was about angles of rotation. So you have to refer to the previous video to look at the ways that we defined angles of rotation, the definition of angles in a standard position, and the generalization that we had for trigonometric ratios for angles more than 90 degrees, right? So in that video, I showed you how you can put an angle in a coordinates plane. So angles that are not necessarily acute angles that could be 90 or possibly more than 90. And I told you how to find the trig ratios for those angles. So now let's see some of the exercises that we have in this section. Question number 1 says the points -2 and 5 is on the terminal side of an angle in a standard position. Find all trigonometric ratios for this angle. Again, as I told you before, there's no need to draw a shape for this, but I'm going to go ahead and draw a shape for you to see better what goes on here. So let's say you have a coordinates plane. And the point -2 and 5 is somewhere about here. 5, so that's -2 and 5. All right. So we have an angle in a standard position. So remember, the vertex must be at the origin. The initial side is aligned with the positive x-axis. And the terminal side could be anywhere. So in this case, the terminal side is in the second quadrant, which is like this one, and goes through this point -2 and 5. Okay, and now we are going to write the trigonometric ratios for this angle. Again, remember, the counterclockwise is considered to be positive. So I'm going to find sine of theta, tangent of theta, and cosine of theta. And the point here is -2 and 5. So remember, sine of theta is defined to be, so this, the -2 is the x-coordinate and 5 is the y-coordinate. So sine of theta is defined to be y divided by r, and r is the distance from the origin to this point. So we need to find the distance from 0, 0 to this -2 and 5 point, and then place it over here for r. And so cosine of theta, we defined it to be x divided by r, and tangent of theta is y divided by x. So for tangent, you will see right away that it's equal to -5/2. Okay, so tangent of theta, that's easy to find, is 5 divided by -2. I'm going to pull negative up here, so that's -5/2. So the tangent ratio. To find sine and cosine ratios, I need to find the r number. So the r is the distance. So we have to use the distance formula. So r equals -2 squared is 4, and 5 squared is 25. So and that's √29. So what do we have here for sine of theta equals y, which is 5 divided by r, √29, and cosine of the angle equals -2 divided by √29. You can go ahead and rationalize the denominators of these fractions, and that would be a right way to go. Next question says the point 0, 1 is on the terminal side of an angle in standard position. Find all trigonometric ratios for this angle. So again, this question is similar to the previous one. Let's draw a shape and see what goes on here. Again, we have so the point here is 0 and 1. So 0, 1 is this point on the y-axis. So again, we have a angle in a standard position. That's the initial side. and the terminal side coincides with the y-axis. And the angle that we get here is 90 degrees. Okay, so that's what we are going to find here. We're going to find the trig ratios for 90 degrees. Remember, we couldn't find the trig ratios for 90 degrees in a right triangle, because always in a right triangle, apart from the 90-degree angle, the other two angles are acute angles. So we'll never get the 90 angle to define the trig ratios for that angle. But here we can easily find trig ratios for 90 degrees. So let's just write down the trig ratios, definition of them, and then figure out the corresponding trig ratios. So sine of this angle, I'm going to just write 90 degrees equals, so the point is 0 and 1. So sine was y over r equals, but y in this case is 1. And what is r? What is the distance from 0, 0 to 0, 1? Well, that's easy. It's only 1 unit, and that's the distance, 1. So 1 over 1, which is equal to 1. So sine of 90 degrees equals 1. Let's see cosine. Cosine of 90, this time is x divided by r. Okay, so what is x? X in this case is 0. So 0 over, and r is still 1, and 0 over 1 equals 0. So cosine of 90 equals 0. Let's see tangent. Tangent of 90 degrees equals, so if you remember the definition, it was y divided by x. Y is 1 and x is 0. And what happens when we divide by 0? Well, that will give us an undefined answer to this question. So tangent of 90 is undefined in this case. So we cannot define tangent for 90 degrees. That's it. This is an important example that will give us the trig ratios for a very certain special angle, which is 90 degrees. Question number 3, the point -1, 0 is on the terminal side of an angle in a standard position, and again write the trig ratios for this angle. All right, so let's draw a shape again. So this time -1, 0. -1, 0 is this point over here. Again, I have an angle in a standard position. So the second, the terminal side of the angle is aligned on the negative side of the x-axis. So the angle that you will get here is this one, which is 180 degrees. So we're going to find the trig ratios for 180 degrees. Let's see. The point is -1 and 0. Sine of 180 equals y divided by r. In this case, y is 0. And r is the distance from 0, 0 to -1, 0. And that's only 1 unit, right? Horizontal shift 1 unit to the left. So that's 1. 0 over 1, which is equal to 0. So sine of 180 is 0. Cosine of 180, x divided by r. In this case, x is -1. So -1 divided by, and r is still 1. -1 divided by 1 is -1. So cosine of 180 is -1. Sine 180, 0. Cosine 180, -1. Let's figure out tangent. Tangent of 180 degrees equals y divided by x. Y is 0, x is -1, and 0 over -1 is just 0. So tangent of 180 is 0. Again, we got the trig ratios for another special angle, which is 180. Question number 4. The point 0, -1 is on the terminal side of an angle in a standard position. find all trigonometric ratios for this angle. Again, let's draw a shape. This time 0, -1 is this point. So I have an angle in a standard position that its terminal side goes through this point, so it must be in this direction. And now, in other words, I'm going to find the trig ratios for this angle. Counterclockwise, positive angles. So what is this angle? I have 390 degrees, and that will give me 270 degrees. That's another special angle in trigonometry that we are going to find the trig ratios of. So let's figure out sine. Sine of 270 degrees equals, so the point here is 0 and -1. So sine is y divided by r. Y is -1. And what is r? R is the distance from the origin to this point. As you see, it's just 1 unit down. So -1 divided by 1, which is -1. So sine of 270 is -1. Cosine of 270. Cosine is x divided by r. In this case, x is 0 divided by 1, and that is 0. And tangent. Tangent is y divided by x. In this case, y is -1 and x is 0. And again, we got another undefined angle for tangent. So this is undefined. All right, so these are the trig ratios for the angle 270. Sine is -1, cosine is 0, tangent is undefined. I strongly recommend you to memorize the trig ratios for these special angles, 270, 180, and 90. And in other videos, I will give you the trig ratios for other special angles right after we see about the radian measures.